Welcome to this OCR GCSE paper 4. This is the higher paper. Today we're going to whiz through all the questions, so if you have any problems just let me know. Okay, question 1. Shari buys a box of 60 candles for £125. She sells them for £2.25 each. Calculate her percentage profit. Okay, so let's work out how much she sold them for. So that's 60 times £2.25. And this is calculator paper, so feel free to use it. So 60 times £2.25 is £135. Okay, to calculate the percentage profit, we need to do the new, take away the old, or the profit. So profit's £10 and divide by the old. So this is 10 over 125, which is the same as, so it's 0.08, which is 8%. Okay, good. Question 2. Hector can run 400 meters in 66 seconds. Use this to show that he could run 5 kilometers in less than 14 minutes. Well, let's work out how many meters there are in 5 kilometers. That's easy. 5 kilometers equals 5,000 meters. Let's work out the scale. So if we do 5,000 divided by 400, that's just going to give us 12.5. Okay, so if we times this 12.5 by 66 now, this gives us the number of seconds it takes him to run 5 kilometers. Here's 825 seconds. But we want it in minutes, so we need to divide by 60. Okay, and that gives us 13.75 minutes. So we'd say 13.75 is less than 14, so he can run 5 km in less than 14 minutes. Okay, great. Okay, part B. Hector tries to run 5 kilometers in less than 14 minutes. Give one reason why he might not be able to achieve this. Well, if you think about it, if he keeps up the pace for so long, he's eventually going to get tired. Now, him running 400 meters in 66 seconds he might be really sprinting and going for it really hard. He might not be able to maintain that same pace, so that's our answer. He might get tired, or he might not be able to maintain the pace. Either one of those will do. Okay, great. Question 3. Here's Mario's answer to a question. So we've got a triangle here, and it says, explain the error in Mario's method. So he's trying to work out x, and what he's actually done is he's used Pythagoras, even though it's not a right angle. Right, so this angle here is not a right angle. So he has used Pythagoras on a non-right angle triangle. And that is the answer for that one. Alright, question 4. So here are the interest rates for 2 bank accounts. One's 2.5 and one's 2.7. But the key difference is one is compound and one is simple. Mia put 6,400 in each account. Calculate the difference in value between the two accounts. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. Well, for compound interest, we can simply do 6,400 times, and then 2.5 as a percentage is 1.025 to the power of 8, because that's the number of years. Okay, so this equals 7,797, and I'm going to put all the decimals in for now, as it'll be helpful later. Right, so that's NSB. For CAB, we need to work out the interest for 1 year and then times it by 8. So the interest rate is 2.7, which as a decimal is 1.027. So let's work that out on the calculator. That gives us £6,572.80. We're going to take away our original 6,400, and this gives us our 1 year interest is £172.80. Now what we're going to do is times this by 8 to give us our total interest, which is £1,382.40. Okay, now we just have to add on our original 6,400 and we get this, £7,782.40. Okay, now all we've got to do is see the difference between. So take our 7797, take off our 7782.40, and we will get, so we get £15 and rounding it up 38 pence, and that is the answer. Okay, question 5. Marcin buys 7 rulers and 12 crayons for £7, and a ruler costs 12 pence more than a crayon. So you've got to be really careful with these. You should notice that they're a pair of simultaneous equations, but one is talking about pence and one is talking about pounds. So let's convert the £7 to pence first. So £7 equals 700p, and now we're ready to begin. So we can say 7r plus 15c equals 700p, and a ruler costs 12p more than a crayon. Well, this just says r equals c plus 12. Now all we have to do is input the second equation into the first. So 7 lots of c plus 12 plus 15c equals 700. Right, expanding this, we get 7c plus 84 plus 15c equals 700. 22c equals 700 minus 84, which you can do on your calculator if you want, equals 616, and then dividing. So again, use your calculator. This gives us 28. So this tells us that cost of 1 crayon is 28p. Right, the diagram shows a cylinder and a sphere. The cylinder has radius 12 and height 30. The cylinder and sphere have the same volume. Well, let's work out the volume of the cylinder. So this is pi r squared times h. So for the cylinder, just point an arrow, pi, r is 12, and we're timesing by the height, which is 30. Okay, so this is 4,320 pi. Right, and we're told that the cylinder and the sphere have the same volume, and we're told the volume of a sphere here. So we're told that the volume of the sphere, which equals 4/3 pi r cubed, we're told that this equals 4,320 pi. Well, straight away we can cancel off the pi's. Right, and now what can we do? We can times by 3 to get 4r cubed equals 12,960. Now we can divide by 4 to get r cubed equals 3,240. Right, and we're asked to find the radius, so all we have to do now is do r equals the cube root. We don't need to worry about plus or minuses here. 3,240. And this equals 14.8 rounded, and it's centimeters. Okay, great. Right, the diagram shows triangle ABC. Here it is. Okay, construct the bisector of angle BAC. Well, this is angle BAC here. So we want to find the line that cuts that angle in half. Now, I don't have a compass, but you should use a compass to draw an arc something like this. Then you place your compass on these 2 points of the same length, and you'll get one arc looking like this and one looking like this. Then you draw a straight line through this point. I know that's not very straight, but you get the idea. Okay, so that's our angle bisector. Construct the perpendicular bisector of AC. Well, AC is this line here. So to do this, you place your compass on here and you draw an arc. It will look something like this. You place it on here, draw another arc, looks something like that. And then these 2 points, you connect them up with a straight line. It should look something like that. So I know this is really messy, but hopefully you get the idea. Right. Shade the region inside triangle ABC that is nearer to AC than AB. Okay, so if it's nearer to AC than AB, then that's all of this area. Right. And then nearer to A than C, that's everything in here. So this is the correct region. Right, two numbers P and Q are written as products of their prime factors. Find the lowest common multiple. Now I like to do this using Venn diagram. So what we do, first I'm going to write P and Q slightly different. We want to write it so we can see P as a multiple of everything that Q has. Right, so 5 cubes, fine, times 11, and Q is just the same, times 3, times 5 cubed, times 5, times 7. So now what do they both have in common? Well, they have 2 to the 4, do this in a different colour, they have a 3, they have a 5 cubed, and that's it. So they will go in the middle, 2 to the 4, 3, and 5 cubed. Okay, and so this is Q, this is P. What's left with Q is just 5 and 7. What's left with P is 2, 3, and 11. And to find the lowest common multiple, we just multiply everything we see. So we do 2 times 3 times 11 times 2 to the 4 times 3 times 5 cubed times 5 times 7. And if you do this on your calculator, just to make sure you get it right, you should get 1386000. So that's 13,860,000. So that's a really nice way of computing the LCM. So you find everything that they have in common, and anything left goes on the outside. So that was 2, 3, and 11, and 5 and 7. And then you just multiply every number you can see. The number C is written as the product of its prime factors. Work out P divided by C. Well, P is 2 to the 5 times 3 squared times 5 cubed times 11, and C was 2 cubed times 3 times 5 squared. Now if you've watched my video on the law of indices, you'll know how to do this quite easily. Okay, so 2 to the 5 divided by 2 to the 3 is 2 squared. 3 squared divided by 3 is 3. 5 cubed divided by 5 squared is 5. And we've got 11 left over. But it asks to keep, note it asks to keep it as a product of powers of prime numbers. So it's 2 squared times 3 times 5 times 11. Right, BI, write 450 as a product of primes. Well, we like to do this using tree diagrams. So I'm going to split this up into 45 times 10. Then this can go to 2 and 5, and they're both prime. 45 can go to 9 and 5. 5 is a prime. And 9 goes to 3 and 3. So there we go. We've got 2, we've got 2 3s, that's 3 squared, and we've got 2 5s. Right, find the highest common factor of 270 and 450. Well, let's do 270 in the exact same way. This goes as 10 times 27. 10 is 2 and 5. 27 is 3 and 9 again. And 9 is 3 and 3. So that's 270 equals 2 times 3 cubed times 5. Remember, 450 was 2 times 3 squared times 5 squared. So the HCF is everything they have in common. They have a 2, they have a 3 squared, and they have a 5. So this is 2 times 9 times 5, which equals 90. Right, 72 children are asked whether they have a laptop or an iPad. So before we even look at it, I'm going to draw the Venn diagram. One's going to say laptop. One's going to say iPad. Right, 31 have laptop, 48 iPad, 12 both, and 5 neither. Well, straight away, we can do these two. So we know 12 have both, and 5 have neither. Remember, anything on the outside belongs to neither. So if we know that 48 have an iPad, but 12 of those also have a laptop, this must mean that 36 have an iPad. Because when you add them, you get everyone who has an iPad. Similarly, if we know that 31 people in total have a laptop, but 12 of them have an iPad as well, this must mean that we have 19 people who just have a laptop. Okay, B. One of the children is chosen at random. Write down the probability they have an iPad, but not a laptop. So that is this part of the circle. And we know it's 36. 36 people have an iPad but not a laptop. And in total, there's 72 children. So 36 divided by 72 is just a half. So the probability is just a half. Okay, question 10. Here is the graph of x squared plus x plus minus 6. Use the graph to solve the equation. Well, x squared plus x minus 6 equals 0 implies we're looking for the roots. That is where it crosses the x-axis, and that's these 2 points here. So, x equals minus 3 and x equals 2. Okay, here are two functions. A takes the input, times it by 2 and adds 4. B takes the input, takes away 1 from it and times it by 3. Okay, so we have a composite function, C, is shown below. Takes the input, does A, then does B, then outputs. Right, the output from function C is 54. So let's write these as functions. Well, for A, I'm going to call it f of x. It takes x and times that by 2 and adds 4 to the answer. This function B, let's call it g of x. What does it do? It takes x and minuses 1 and then times this by 3. We could write times 3 here, but this is just the same as having a 3 here and a brackets. Right, and then function C, well, it does A first and then B. So that is g of f of x. And f of x is 2x plus 4, so this is g of 2x plus 4, which equals 3, put our x in here, 2x plus 4 minus 1. And we can simplify the bit inside the brackets. 2x plus 4 minus 1 is 2x plus 3. Like so. Okay, and if we know the output is 54, that means that 3 lots of 2x plus 3 equals 54. We can easily solve this now by dividing by 3. So 2x plus 3 is 54 divided by 3, which is 18. 2x is 18 minus 3, which is 15, and so x equals 7.5. Right, the input to function c is x. Find an expression in terms of x for the output. Well, we've actually just done this. It was g of f of x. And this came out to be this bit here. Three lots of 2x plus 3. Great. Okay, 30 students completed a puzzle and their times were recorded. That's going to be important. That tells us that the total frequency is 30. We have a histogram here and we're asked to complete it. So we need to fill in this first bar here. Okay, remember the formula, frequency density equals frequency divided by class width. So what we need to do first is work out the frequency on the other bars. So for this one, we have the frequency density 0.8 equals f over, and the class width is 15. So f equals 15 times 0.8, which equals 12. Okay, so that's our first frequency. Okay, this time 0.9 equals f over the class width is 10. So this tells us that f equals 9. That's our second frequency. And finally, so 0.2 is the density. The frequency is what we're trying to find out, and the class width is 15. So f equals 3. 15 times 0.2 is 3. Okay, so to find the missing frequency, we need to do 30, take away 12, take away 9, take away 3. And this gives us 6. So if we know that the frequency is 6 and the class width here is 10, we have that the frequency density equals 6 divided by 10, which is just 0.6. Make sure you use a ruler. So this would be the completed histogram. Right, Tenzin is given this question, factorize fully, 2x squared plus 6x. Here is his answer. 2x squared plus 6x equals x lots of 2x plus 6. So what is wrong with Tenzin's answer? Well, he has factorized it, but he hasn't factorized it fully. So it's not fully factorized, still a factor of 2. Still a factor of 2 in 2x plus 6. So ant should be 2x, lots of x plus 3. Right, y is inversely proportional to the square root of x, and y is 40 when x equals 9. Find a formula. So y is inversely proportional to the square root of x. So this means y is proportional to 1 over square root of x, which implies y equals k over square root of x. Right, we're told y equals 40 when x is 9, so let's plug that in. 40 equals k over root 9. And so we do k equals 40 times root 9, which equals, of course, 40 times 3, which equals 120. And so our formula is y equals 120 over the square root of x. Question 15. The box plot shows the distribution of the runs scored by David in some cricket matches. Another player, Peter, has a median score of 26, highest score of 39, and so on. Show the distribution of Peter's scores as a box plot. So I always start with the median. So 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. That's this one. That's the median. A highest score of 39. That's here. a lowest score of 8, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right, a lower quartile of 14, 11, 12, 13, 14, that's there, and an interquartile range of 18. Remember, the interquartile range is the upper quartile, take away the lower quartile, and if the interquartile range is 18, we're trying to work out the upper quartile. We know the lower quartile is 14 as well. This tells us that the upper quartile equals 18 plus 14, which equals 32. Okay, and that is here. So now we just got to neatly draw this up. Again, make sure you use your ruler, unlike me. Okay. And then join up the lowest and highest. Okay, so yours should look something like that, although a lot neater. Right, decide whether David or Peter best satisfies each of these. Who scored more runs on average? Well, you hear the word average and you should think median. So Peter has a higher median, so Peter. Higher median. Okay, whose scores were more consistent? Again, you hear the word consistency, you should think of the interquartile range. Right, so David clearly has a smaller interquartile range. Yeah, if you look at the size of that compared to this one. So David smaller IQR. Right, solve by factorization. A nice question here. So remember, we need two numbers that multiply to give minus 33, and those same two numbers must add to give minus 19. So let's look at the factors of 33. Well, it's 1 and 33, that's not going to be much use to us, and 3 and 11. Okay, so is that any use to us? Yes. So again, because of this 2, we know that one of the brackets is going to be a 2x, right? So we need something that multiplies by 2 and something that multiplies by 1 to give us this. Now, after a little bit of trial and error, you should come up with this answer. Yeah, and if we try, because 2 times minus 11 is minus 22, add 3x, we get to this minus 19x, which is what we wanted. And if we try expanding this out, we get 2x squared plus 3x minus 33 minus 22x. And that is what we wanted. Okay, so going back to these brackets, this tells us that 2x plus 3 equals 0 and x minus 11 equals 0. So this implies x equals minus 3 over 2. And this one implies that x equals 11. So minus 3 over 2 and 11. Okay, 17. First 4 terms of a quadratic sequence. So we want to have a quadratic sequence of the form an squared plus bn plus c. And this is our sequence. So what we need to do is look for the second difference. This first difference, plus 13, plus 19, and plus 25. Let's go down to the second. We get plus 6 and plus 6. Now, because the second difference is 6, this implies that a equals 6 divided by 2, which equals 3. So we have 3n squared. Okay, to find b, let's come down here. Again, let's look at our original sequence, 2, 15, 34, and 59. And let's look at 3n squared for values of n. So if n equals 1, then 3n squared is 3. If n equals 2, n squared is 4, times 3 is 12. If n equals 3, n squared is 9, times 3 is 27, and so on. Okay, now what do? We take away this 3n squared from our sequence, and we get -1, 3, 7, and 11. Now you should spot that this sequence here is linear. So each term differs by 4. And this tells us that b is 4. Okay, so we're almost there. We now have that a equals 3 and b equals 4. So we have 3n squared plus 4n. Right? So now, all we have to do is, again, do this for values n equals 1 up to 4. Okay, if n equals 1, we've got 3 plus 4, which is 7. If n equals 2, we've got 12 plus 8, which is 20. If n equals 3, we've got 27 plus 12, which is 39. And if n equals 4, we've got 48 plus 16, which is 64. And we want to get back to our sequence 2, 15, 34, and 59. And hopefully you can see that the correct sequence is 3n squared plus 4n minus 5. So C is 5. So A is 3, B is 4, and C is minus 5. Right, P is the point 0, 1, minus 1, and Q is the point 5, 9. Let's put it up here. So let's suppose this is the line PQ. We want the equation of the line through P that is perpendicular to the line PQ. So that's this line here, where this is a right angle. Okay, to start, we need to find the gradient of PQ, and this is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so y2 is 9, y1 is minus 1, so it's 9 minus 1, minus 1, and x2 minus x1 is 5 minus 0. So this is 10 over 5, which equals 2. Okay, so this implies that m of this other line, let's call it A, equals minus a half, as MPQ times MA equals minus 1, i.e. perpendicular lines gradients multiplied to minus 1. And this is a well-known fact. Okay, great. So we've got the gradient of our perpendicular line, and we also know a point on it. So P was the point 0, minus 1. So now we just need to use y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. So y, take away minus 1, equals, our gradient is minus a half, x minus 0. So this gives y plus 1 equals minus a half x, and so y equals minus a half x minus 1. And that is our answer there. Okay, question 19. Two cylinders, A and B, are mathematically similar. This means their proportions are similar. So A has volume 2400 centimeters cubed and height 12. B has volume 750 centimeters cubed. And we need to work out the height. So to start with, if they're similar, then this must be similar to this. That is, the proportions are similar. So let's work out 2,400 divided by 750 to give us our scale. And this is 3.2. Now remember that volume scales are the length scales cubed. Yeah. So this is just how it works, because when we're doing volume, we're multiplying three things. So this is our volume scale factor. So to get our height scale factor, or our length scale factor, we need to do the cube root of 3.2. Okay, so to work this out, just bang it in the calculator and you get 1.4736 and so on. Right, and to find the height of cylinder B, all we do, so now we've got the scale factor here. So we worked out the scale factor here and we cube rooted it. So we do 12 divided by our 1.4736. Again, use your calculator, and this gives you 8.14. And so that's centimeters. And we've done it to 2 decimal place there. Right, question 20. The diagram shows a right-angled triangular prism ABCDEF. Calculate angle ABF. So what is ABF? Well, let's draw a line from B to F. Again, make sure you use your ruler. And a line from A to F. Something like that. So we're looking for this angle here. Okay, we know it's a right angle because this bottom bit is a right angle. So maybe I'll draw it out up here. So we're looking for this angle. Let's call it theta. We know this is 18 and we know this is a right angle. What we need to do is work out this. So that's this one here. Let's call it x. Right, but we also know this is a right angle here because it's a rectangle base. So we can use Pythagoras' theorem to find x. So x equals the square root of 25 squared plus 40 squared. And again, do this on your calculator. And the answer is 47.1699 and so on. Right, so we now know this length is 47.1699. So we can use some simple trigonometry, some SOHCAHTOA, to find theta. Well, what angles have we got? We've got the opposite and we've got the adjacent, which means we're going to use tan. So let's set this up then. Well, tan theta equals opposite over adjacent, that's 18 over our 47.1699. And so theta equals the tan inverse of this, 18 over 47.1699. Right, and if you do that on your calculator, you should get 20.886 and so on, and we're just going to round it to 20.9. So that is the answer, and that's degrees there. Okay, the number of gannets on an island is assumed to follow this exponential growth model. N is the number of gannets in thousands, X is the number of years after January 2010. Complete the table. So this value is just going to be 0.45 times 1.07 to the 10, and obviously do that on your calculator. You would not be expected to do that in your head, and that is 0.89 to 2 decimal place. Right, let's do a different colour. This is just 0.45 times 1.07 to the 20. So this is 1.74. Right, draw the graph of n. So we know that at x equals 0, n equals 0.45. So this is 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5 is there. Okay, at x equals 5, n equals 0.63. That's going to be 0.6 and somewhere around here. At 10, we just worked it out, 0.89. So right below 0.9, it's there. 15 is 1.24. So 1, 1.1, 1.2, 1.4, and 20 is 1.74. So 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, 1.74. Right. So I'm going to try and draw this as neat as I can. Okay, not the best graph there, but it'll do the trick for this question. Right, use the graph to find the year when the gannet population is predicted to reach 1,000. So 1,000 is here, so we go along until we reach, that's about here, and we go down. Right, so it's slap bang in the middle of 10 and 15, so that's about 12.5. So it's 12.5 years after January 2010. So 2022 is the answer there, as we've done 2010 plus 12. Right, question 22. In a village, the ratio of males to females is 2 to 1. So straight away we know that there's 3 parts. 2 of them are male, 1 is female. 40% of the people in the village are right-handed males. 25% of the people in the village are right-handed females. Show that the proportion of females who are right-handed is greater than the proportion of males who are right-handed. So we can do this using a tree diagram. So let's do males and females. We know there's 3 parts and 2 of them are males and 1 is female. Now we look at whether they're right or left-handed. So right, left, right, and left. So we know that 40% of the people in the village are right-handed males. This means that when we go along this branch here, the right-handed males, we get 40% or 2/5. So we know that when we go along that branch, we get 2/5. And similarly, if 25% of people in the village are right-handed females, that means when we go along this branch, we get 1/4. So what we need to do is work out these two. Let's call them X and Y. But that's easy because we know how probability works. So probability of a right-handed male, I'm just going to do it, Rm, equals 2/3 times X. But we also know that this is equal to 2/5. So 2/3 of X is 2/5, but we can rearrange this. So 2/3 of X equals 2/5. Well, we can multiply by 3 to say 2X equals 6/5, and then we can divide by 2 to say X equals 6/10, which is 0.6. Or, yeah, we can keep it as a fraction if we want. And similarly, probability of a female being right-handed is 1/3 times Y. But we already know that this is equal to a quarter. It said it was 25%. So this tells us that a third y equals a quarter, and so y equals 3/4. Right, so now we have the proportion of males who are right-handed is 60%, and the proportion of females who are right-handed is 75%. So we're done. So 75 is greater than 60. The proportion of females who are right-handed is greater than the proportion of males who are right-handed. Okay, great. Any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.